Welcome to Carrow Road, where it is successive defeats for Norwich City in the Premier League, losing 2-1 to Sheffield United this afternoon. A particularly painful loss for the Canaries. They were leading 1-0 at the break and looking pretty comfortable. Certainly had the better of the first half, but 2 goals inside 4 minutes completely turned this early in the second half, and from there Sheffield United are not an easy team to break down because they're so well organised, so disciplined, so well structured, and I tweeted at half time that there's no way they were going to play as badly in the second half as they had in the first, when they'd looked flat, like they were lacking energy like that. 24 hours less that they'd had to prepare for this game compared to Norwich, because they'd played on Thursday night. That looked like it had an effect, and second half they came out. Chris Wilder clearly gave them a bit of a rocket at the break, and they were the first team out. They were running through their warm-up on the side of the pitch. They were clearly eager to get back on with it, and they did the business. Some crumbs of comfort, at least for Norwich, in terms of the table, and that Aston Villa have lost 4-1 at home to Leicester today, and that Southampton lost 2-1 at Newcastle. So not too much damage in terms of the table, with Watford drawing at home to Palace yesterday in Nigel Pearson's first game. So that's a slight crumb of comfort, as I say, but with Norwich going to Leicester next Saturday, maybe not so much. Of course, they've got a certain Mr. Maddison lying in wait for Norwich in that game. Just to take you through the key events, unfortunately, we've got to talk about VAR again. There's just no avoiding it in the Premier League this year. It's kind of it's tiresome, but there's no avoiding it. And there were loud chants of "We want our football back," and "It's not football anymore" from the Norwich fans after the controversy, which I'll come on to. And strangely enough, despite those decisions being against Norwich, the Sheffield United fans joined in. They had their own VAR pain on Thursday night, which you probably would have seen. They lost 2-0 at home to Newcastle, and the second goal, scored by John Joe Shelvey, was one where the Sheffield United players had stopped because they believed he was offside. The offside flag had gone up. He then goes on and puts the ball into the back of the net. Everybody goes back to the halfway to see what's going on, and eventually the goal gets given. So Sheffield United had their own taste of it, and Norwich very much had it today. There weren't loads of chances in this game. Norwich had 58% of possession, once again another game where they've dominated possession but ended up on the losing side. They had 14 shots to United's 9, 4 of those were on target to United's 3. They had 9 corners compared to the Blades' 1. So once again, in general play, you could say that Norwich dominated the game, but that's not the way the results ended up, and I don't think you can probably quibble over it too much in terms of United taking away the 3 points, because over the 90 minutes they were probably the more disciplined and better team. But it was a good contest, as it always is between these two sides, because they're kind of opposing styles, aren't they? As the wind blows and the rain starts to come down quite heavily, so I hope you can't hear that too much in the background. But they had the first chance. Ben Godfrey, wayward defensive header, allowed David McGoldrick, formerly of Ipswich, of course, in the Barkley goal, which you can just see over my shoulder there. But McGoldrick didn't make proper contact, and Krul was able to pounce on top of that and stop that. And within a minute, Alex Tettey, the man who seems to be going through something of a strange attacking resurgence, like he's playing with no pressure on his shoulders almost, from all those years of experience, and perhaps this being his final season with the club. He puts Norwich 1-0 ahead in the 27th minute. Comes from a corner, Buendia puts it in, the ball's only headed upwards. Christoph Zimmermann makes a bit of a nuisance of himself with a couple of defenders. Ball drops and Tettey just lashes it into the bottom right corner. Henderson, very little chance in the Sheffield United goal. And following on from his assist at the Southampton game, and a couple of other lovely passes in the first half, it looked like it was going to be sort of Alex Tettey's day to a certain extent. There was a VAR check after that one for Zimmermann's involvement in the ball when the ball was dropping, whether there was a handball or whether there was just too much of a foul involved. But VAR are happy with that. So Norwich go into the break 1-0 down and feeling fairly happy with themselves. They made 3 changes. Mario Vrancic, Emi Buendia both came back into the starting 11, and both were good in that first half. Buendia particularly moving the ball about well, but Vrancic setting the tempo pretty well. The other change being Alex Tettey coming in for Ibrahim Amadou, which we kind of expected after the Southampton game in midweek. And as I say, it all changed very quickly. 49th minute, it's Ender Stevens, the left wing back for Sheffield United, jumps, towers above Max Aarons, really, who obviously is quite a short guy anyway. The cross comes in from the right from George Baldock, and he just powers in the header from close range. Krul with little chance, and Norwich were just shell-shocked that all that hard work had disappeared down the drain for such a basic goal. And within 4 minutes, it's in the 52nd minute, it was 2-1. Mario Vrancic involved in that one, and the ball comes into the box and he has the opportunity to clear, but he fluffs his lines basically, doesn't get the ball away, misses his chance to clear, and then George Baldock, the right wing back who'd set up the first goal, seizes on it from just inside the box and into sort of the right channel, strikes it low. Tim Krul gets a hand to it but can't keep it out. Possibly say that Krul could have done better with that one. I think the ball was bouncing towards him, and the rain had started to fall by that point, but it hit his arms and went into the net, and from there it just was disaster really. The whole mood changed in this place. The away fans were having a great day, and the home fans were frustrated and struggling to really create too much of an atmosphere, to be perfectly honest. Then the VAR incidents kick off in the 55th minute. It's quite a weird one. It went on for at least 2 minutes. The Blades attacked. Onel Hernandez charged into the back of Chris Basham. So first thought was, is there a penalty there? But play freezes. Players don't play to the whistle, essentially. Lundstrom puts it into the bottom left corner with a decent finish. Tim Krul seems to have basically stopped playing at that point and scores. But we stop and wait, have to find out what's going on. VAR has to go through several checks. Eventually, it says no goal, by which time the crowd are well on top of the referee and wanting to know what's going on. And subsequently after the game, we've learned that it was because of the offside that they had ruled out the goal for Lundstrom, which is what we thought had happened in real time, and then they also didn't think it was a penalty anyway, so in the end that gets cleared away. But that's already broken up the play, it's already started the anti-VAR chance. Then it all kicks off again 20 minutes later, 75th minute, and this one is a red card which is overturned. Chris Basham late on Kenny McLean, quite nasty tackle, studs up, doesn't really make contact with his knee. If he had, then could have hurt Kenny quite badly, but Simon Hooper has a bit of a think about it, brandishes a straight red card, and Basham goes off, but waits by the dugouts with Chris Wilder while a VAR check happens, and it's then overturned. Cue more chaos, booing, angry scenes in the stands at Carrow Road, and Chris Basham stays on, and he was a lucky boy. I mean, whether it's a clear and obvious error from the referee to send him off, not sure. It's definitely a debatable red card, I think you can say, but it was a strong tackle. He was lucky, I think, is the best way to sum it up. David McGoldrick then has two decent chances for Sheffield United, puts one beyond the far post, and the other one he blasts over and punches the ground afterwards in frustration, knowing that he's had the opportunities to wrap things up. Todd Cantwell by that point has come on for Onel Hernandez, who had a fairly ineffective day and so unlucky not to get his 5th goal of the season. Links with Buendia nicely, he prods him into the box, and Todd connects really well the shot towards the bottom right corner. Dean Henderson sprawls to his left on loan from Manchester United. It was a real cracking save and saved his team a point in the end, right in front of the away end, who were hailing him as England's number one. At the end, it really was a superb save, and to be honest, 6 minutes of added time, never really felt like the equaliser was coming. Dennis Trebeni had been thrown on, but didn't really have much of an impact, and Sheffield United got the ball in the corners, they frustrated, they wasted a little bit of time here and there, and they did a decent job to see out the win, and they certainly leave Carrow Road the far happier team today. And that means Norwich head to Leicester, who, as I say, still doing really well to keep the pressure on Liverpool up in the top 2. Jamie Vardy on a ridiculous run of goals at the moment. I think that's 8 goals in succession that he's scored, and another 2 today, so he's at 16, I think, for the season. Premier League top scorer. James Maddison, you can almost put money on him curling in a free kick at some point, can't you? That's going to be a real tough game. And you look at the fixtures coming up after that. The following weekend, it's home to Wolves here, then Villa away on Boxing Day, Spurs home, and then Palace home on New Year's Day as well. So difficult run of fixtures. There aren't any easy fixtures, of course, at this level, but Norwich are in a bit of a hole now after that Everton win, where hopes were raised so much. Zimmerman back in the mix, and they'd shown so much, and they probably should have beaten Arsenal here a week ago, but then this is 2 massive opportunities missed, where they've, again, against Southampton and Sheffield United, shown that they've got the ability to beat teams at this level, but they just don't seem capable of putting together 90-minute performances and consistent defensive displays, because in the end, the goals that they conceded in both of these 2 games were pretty basic, and if they can't find some defensive strength in the January transfer window to bolster things, then it's not looking good at all. Max Aarons was fairly overwhelmed at right back today. Jamal Lewis did get an opportunity to get some minutes, came on for Sam Byram in the second half, and it wouldn't have been a surprise if he'd have come on for Max and Byram had switched to the right, because by that point the spirit had been punctured totally. They were shell shot. They just didn't know how to react. They couldn't get themselves together, other than that Cantwell opportunity, which came from a nice bit of play. But it's certainly worrying times. So where they go from here, I'm not quite sure, but if they're going to concede goals so easily, then clearly they're not going to survive at this level. It's going to be very difficult, and Daniel Farke didn't go around the stadium and applaud all four stands as he normally does. He was pretty quickly down the tunnel and is a very frustrated man after the game, and it's tough times for Norwich. They remain 19th in the Premier League. Head over to PinkUn.com for the full analysis and reaction, and we'll start building up to that Leicester game during the week.